Ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to open up like my friend James Cadiz does.
You've lost your mind,
James,
Tom. You've lost your mind.
You're rubbing off on me. I told Gabe while we were getting ready for this, I said, what would I do if James disappeared? I said, there's nobody like James. I went through the whole list of all 300 whatever million people in the United States. I couldn't think of a person like you. So, hey, I know you got one heck of a schedule going on, so I'm going to make this short today because you got a lot of things you got to do. So, are you ready to start?
Let's go, bro. Let's do it.
Okay. Hey, by the way, I'm guessing that most of you have seen James on his own program, both YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. That's kind of how James starts. James, how do you start? Do it, just so everybody knows. Everybody who hasn't seen you on your own.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining the James Cadiz podcast. We're so glad for you to join us. We love Jesus. How about you?
Now this is it.
So nice to be.
The Bible says liars have a place in hell. Anyways, James. Okay, let's get going. Man, this studio is baking, Gabe. We'll just have to deal with it.
What's up? It's not that crazy. But
you're crazier. You're crazier than that. Okay, this is out of Jerusalem Post this week. You ready for this? Netanyahu's mandate ends in failure, and he's blaming Naftali Bennett for it. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu failed to form a government for the third time in 2 years as his mandate from President Rivlin ended on Tuesday night. He failed to get the extension just a few minutes before the deadline. He turned in his letter, said, I can't form a government. And again, he's blaming Bennett. So what does this mean for Israel? I mean, we're looking at the Iran issue. You look at Israel, what's their government like? I know you and Don talk about this stuff a lot. But I mean, you look at that, they got threats from Iran. What the heck?
So this is going to end up being a serious shift, I think, a geopolitical shift as it relates to international relations with Israel. I don't think, look, there's a lot of internal division going on right now, okay? I don't think that Israel, did you hear that little burp, by the way, in the middle of, did you hear that? Did it go through it didn't go through the microphone? So I just dimed myself out, right?
I don't.
Okay, anyway, going back to the important issue. Israel is finding themselves in a place where there's a lot of internal strife. It's a significant amount of internal strife. We know this. I don't really have to get into this. For those of you that don't understand the parliamentary system or the semi-parliamentary system that exists within Israel and how it works, we've talked about this on multiple occasions. Dawn and I, in the episode that we just released of Countdown to Eternity, we talk about this, and I actually explain how it works, and we kind of got into it a little bit. But the thing is that Israel, a couple things we should know right away. Israel is still unified internally in their government enough to stand against people like Iran, okay? The rising tide of division that exists right now between the United States and Israel because of what I consider to be anti-Semitic and anti-Israeli policies of the Biden administration is going to force some kind of unity within this parliamentary system that exists. I think that the formation of government that's going to happen is going to be one that's more along the lines of necessity as opposed to convenience or political manifestations or desires. I think Benjamin Netanyahu is too strong of a leader and has too much popularity amongst the people for him to just be outright booted. What is strikingly me is the fact that he has enough people to actually form a government. Why that's not happening tells me that there's a lot of political capital that's being spent right now. I think that there's a lot of back and forth about, I need this if you'll give me that, and what about this, and what about here, and so on and so forth. And I think that that's exactly what we're dealing with. So what I think is going to happen is going to be one of two things. Number one, Israel is going to have a momentary split within its government to the point where it's going to stop functioning the way that it should function in order to keep it sustained and healthy and protected. And very quickly, the citizens are going to recognize that and change course, right? Or the other thing that will end up happening is you're going to continue to have this level of dysfunction with Netanyahu still in power, doing the things that he continues to do, with them putting up with the decisions that he makes as a leader for the sake of maintaining peace and unity from within the nation. The problem is this: you have a group of people who are Arabs that are Arab nations that are beginning to develop normalization agreements with Israel. Those agreements are continuing to happen, which is creating less pressure on Israel because they're not feeling the surrounding of haters, right? Not as much as they used to feel, right? They are feeling it with some people who are proxies of Iran, whether it be through Yemen in seeking to attack the stability of Saudi Arabia through the Houthis, or whether it be the type of situation where we're talking about Hamas or Hezbollah. Those are also acting as proxies, not just for not Iran, but for other areas that are Sunni-based that might be actually acting as such. But keep in mind, they're also unifying. The Muslim world is unifying. There are even some Shiite sects that are unifying with the Sunnis in order to accomplish the purpose of the elimination of the Jewish state. We're seeing that, right? They're somewhat disorganized in how they're doing it. But the bottom line is there's two wars, there's two fronts that Israel is facing right now that are going to force or necessitate unity within the government, right? The first front that Israel is facing is significant, right? The first front is, in my opinion, the greatest front. It's not the militaristically speaking with conventional warfare front. The first front is going to be the media front, right? It's manipulating the international community into understanding, recognizing, realizing the plight of people who are being occupied by Jewish occupiers, right? And the United States is helping that media war being won by the Palestinians and by the Arab population. And there are other people that are helping with that media war, which is pure insanity. I mean, the bottom line is it's stupid, it's foolish, it's ridiculous, and it should not be the case. But it is the greatest war that Israel is facing right now, is the war on the media front. The second war, of course, is the more conventional war, right? It's the fear of missiles being sent. It's those types of things. And the problem is the international community continues to test the abilities of others, or the abilities is not the right term, the willfulness or the capital, the political capital of other nations that surround the area, of whether or not they're going to actually stand in defense of Israel, stand with Israel, or at least defend their own interests by keeping certain things from happening. Like, here's something a lot of people are not talking about. China launches a missile into space, right? And now it's coming down. They say that it's completely out of control and it's coming down, and people are projecting, at least I think it's the Northern Command is projecting that it's going to fall in the Pacific region, right? Somewhere in the Pacific Ocean, very, very close to us here on the West Coast. And no one's really making much of a scream about it. I mean, you think about that for just a second, and that's because the media war is being won. That's the picture that a lot of people are having a difficult time recognizing. And because the media war is being won, then the conventional war isn't something that's really even being addressed, for that matter. So I don't. People might think that I'm trying to separate these two items. They should be conflated in a way, because they both have something to do with what's happening right now. And the shifting that we're watching with the allies of Israel and with the enemies of Israel are both enough reasons to be concerned about whether or not unity should be within their government. I think what's going to end up happening is, if they don't find an infrastructure by which they can begin to cause that unity to take place through the parliamentary rules, they're going to end up getting behind Netanyahu simply for the purpose of convenience with respect to security. So that's kind of what we're looking at. And it's a very long, roundabout way of basically saying we don't completely know what's going to happen. It's a very long, roundabout way of basically saying, you know, who knows? But here's the one thing that we do need to do as Bible prophecy people is we need to look at what the end game is. And the end game, according to Ezekiel, is basically the fact that Israel will be defended, and will be defended by nobody other than God. God will be the one that will defend them. We know, per Ezekiel chapter 37, that God is unifying people back into the nation in unbelief, right? You look at the Valley of Dry Bones. He's unifying those people in unbelief. They're coming back. They're not as believers. And we also know that there's going to be a war that's going to take place against Israel. We know the players. We know they're going to be Turkey, Russia. Matter of fact, the leader of Russia will be leading the coalition, right? I know I'm speaking to the choir when I talk about this. Turkey, Russia, Libya, Sudan, we're talking about all these different people, Ethiopia, and some other Gulf states. We know that they're going to be coming against Israel. But here's the thing that we know per Ezekiel chapter 38, I think it's around verse 8, 9, and 10, they're going to be shocked. They're going to be surprised because not only are they going to be having good friends with their neighbors, but they're going to be living in serious economic prosperity, where the type of prosperity that happens is going to maintain the surety of security in the region. And when all of that gets attacked, we know that only one person is going to come into play to defend them, and that's going to be the Lord. But here's the thing that's interesting. Israel is going to be in a state of peace. There's not going to be turmoil in Israel, and the surrounding nations will be at peace with Israel. Now, we're not quite seeing that right now, but you can't have peace in a country where there's a divided Knesset. You can't do it. Mm-hmm. It won't work. So we know that that's going to have to change. How that's going to change, I'm not quite sure yet, but that's kind of the analysis in a very brief, very elementary. I'm only scratching the surface. There's not a lot to what I just shared, but it's enough to kind of give the best picture of what's actually going on.
Actually, I thought that was excellent. There was a lot there. You and I, the other day on your program, the live one on Facebook. By the way, everybody, every Tuesday at 10 a.m., James and I are live on Facebook. It's been live on his Facebook. It's going to be live on mine, I think, this coming Tuesday. But and by the way, we have a prophecy conference coming up, Huntington Beach, June 25 and 26. Hope you can come. HopeForOurTimes.com. Go there to get the info. HopeForOurTimes.com is going to be outstanding. Okay. On Tuesday on your program, there was an article that said in Israel right now, there is a push to get for the Israeli Jews to be able to form some type of a coalition with the Arab communities, because even radical Muslims, terrorists. One of the organizations was related to, it wasn't Hamas. It's one of the terrorist organizations, like Muslim Brotherhood. That's what it was.
Yeah, Islamic Brotherhood. That's right.
That's what it was. And because we understand each other better than the rest of the Gentile world, and you find so these strange of these relationships that are going to develop because of everything you just mentioned. But we see the direction that everything is going also. And it's a very strange thing. In the last days, when that covenant is agreed upon, that's confirmed, the Daniel chapter 9 covenant, that is when Jerusalem is led by evil leaders. So you look at what's going on.
Yeah, I just remember you mentioned Daniel 9:27. I think that's a reference you're making. The covenant being confirmed, the literal translation from the Hebrew language is covenant being made strong.
Made strong.
So the implication is that it already exists, right. Number one. And number two, I've made this statement on multiple occasions. I say it a lot more with Don than you, because oftentimes we don't talk about the geoeconomic implications of what's actually going on. But you have to keep in mind, all of the platforms that we talk about by which the end time scenario is going to be launched and actually continue to be propagated is based on the economic infrastructure of the day. The movement for globalism is a purely economic move. There is no idealism based in it. Some people say, well, James, I completely disagree. This is a hardcore idealism and it's a move for power. It really all relates to economics. Economics is the conduit by which power is obtained. Economics is the conduit by which influence is being grabbed. So it all really does relate to the almighty dollar, and it's economics that's changing everything. We talked about this with Germany and Merkel, and we're talking about all the different things that are going on right now. Everything is being influenced by the economics of all of this, which is causing these types of shifts. We're watching it. We're watching it happen again and again and again. And I know that me and you have a different outlook on this 10-nation confederation. I'm going to change your mind on that, by the way, one of these days. I'm going to do it effectively.
You're supposed to change my mind on a Friday sometime, so maybe that'll be our goal next Friday.
We need to do it because by the next prophecy conference, you'll be teaching it differently.
Let's do it live. I want you to change my mind on next Friday's program. This will be fun.
That's easy to do. The arguments, listen, bro, the arguments for your regional perspective, I've even listened to some of your teachings on it. Oh, goodness gracious, Tom. Listen, can I just tell you this right now? I'm going to make this statement about you. In my opinion, this is just my opinion. You're one of the premier, and I'm not saying this just to be funny because we're on the show together. You're one of the premier teachers on Bible prophecy. Like, you're a great go-to guy. Listen, I think right now in modern day Bible prophecy teaching, we lack a lot of people with vision who know how to connect the dots. And I think you're one of the guys that's like is gifted in this area. You've always been gifted in this area, which is why I think it's going to be easy to change your mind on the Europe thing.
This is going to be great.
So I'm going to change your mind on this, especially as it relates to the propagation of that which is necessary to make the kind of covenants that need to exist in order for the reconstruction of the temple, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, this is it. Gabe, remind me, next Friday, this is going to be my conversation with James. He's going to change my mind on how these 10 nations. It's going to be exciting because I can't wait. I think it'll be a whole lot of fun. Hey, we're almost out of time already. That was outstanding what you just mentioned. And you're right. You even mentioned in there the media wars being won, and we aren't even paying any attention to the conventional wars that are developing. No matter what anybody says, there's unbelievable stuff that's happening. But I just want to focus on this, and then we're going to wrap up here. There is overpopulation in certain areas, and they're blaming climate change, of course. I was just in an airplane the other day. As you know, you remember, I'm flying over the United States. All I saw was vacant land everywhere. Vacant
with
land.
Your mask, it says "My president is worthless." Or is that Steve's mask?
That was Steve's. That was great.
Oh, okay.
But there's vacant land everywhere. Everywhere there's vacant land, but they say we're overpopulated. I don't want to talk about that. You know what? I want to save that for another conversation at climate change. California is to release 76,000 prisoners. Okay, that's just delightful. You know, we've already heard this before, but I want to focus here because I think this ties in with this. Charlie Kirk, this is your friend Charlie Kirk. Defund the police is a Trojan horse. I agree wholeheartedly. You mentioned something like this recently. The real objective, he says, is a national police force. I agree 100%. It has not been about defunding the police. It's federalizing the police.
Never has been.
And it has to be this way in order for the global kingdom and this new world order to come about. You mentioned that already, federalizing the police. You also mentioned the money situation. This stuff is about the money. This whole thing with the World Economic Forum, it's in their title. When they talk about a global reset, World Economic Forum, it's in their title. It is about the money. It has nothing to do with making humanity better. It's the few people at the top. It's humiliating the rest of the world, and it's about the money. And so I watched this defund the police. It isn't about people's safety. It's never been about people's safety. The media buys into it. The media promotes it, and most people go right along. They don't even question anything. They don't question why so many people are dying in these areas where crime is escalating, in the areas where you have defund the police movements. It has nothing to do with that. This is all forming this globalistic system that's coming, and what we'll talk about next time, these 10 nations, these 10 kings.
Bro, look, beyond all of this, you could not be more, you could not be more closer to the truth than what you're sharing right now. You could not be more true than what you're sharing right now. It relates directly to this. Charlie and I were actually talking about this the other day. This is most definitely a federal armament. It's a move for that. And not just a federal police force that can be directly manipulated and controlled by the politicians in power, right? By the Democratic politicians in power, the members of the Democratic Party. This is a very, 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 for lack of a better term, high priority item for them. And this is why the movement for defund the police exists. The problem is, and the huge misnomer about what they're doing, is the process of them seeking to have the police defunded is going to build even a greater distrust with the federal police force, and they're going to be met with tremendous resistance in doing so. I think it's going to end up backfiring on them. I really do. I think that 2022 is going to be a slaughterhouse for the Democratic Party. Yeah. And I think they know it. I think they're going to lose. But the thing is, Christians can't be lazy. We've got to get out there. We got to work our tails off.
Listen, I look at the only way this whole system is going to come about is after the rapture. I don't see it coming about any other way.
Absolutely,
bro. On your
Absolutely.
program on Tuesday, where you're talking about how many Christians there's estimated to be in China. When that rapture happens, China's going to collapse. It's not going to be.
I couldn't believe that number that you gave me, bro. What was it? 300 million is what you said?
Is the estimated trajectory. I think by 2028 is what they're guessing. That many Christians in China.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And that's another reason why China is going to be inconsequential in the last days.
You look at that many people being raptured from China, and then what's going to happen to America? America's has all kinds of internal problems right now. So I don't think these things are actually going to be fulfilled until after the rapture. I just don't think they can be. There's way too much resistance. Resistance is building all over in Europe. Over this stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yep, absolutely. And I think in many places of the United States of America, it is too. And I'm kind of excited about that. Look, a lot of people think it's going to be impossible to recall Newsom. The same amount of people thought that it would be impossible to gather the signatures. We've gathered way more than necessary. And if it's a sample of the population, we're going to end up recalling him. And I'm only saying that simply because I'm just saying there is a resistance of people that are seeing this and are hating what they see. And they want to make some changes. And we should make these changes.
I would say in the state of California, since we're both from California, I believe I don't see a problem with having Newsom recalled. What concerns me is who's going to fill that void.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's true. That's true. But listen. But even if an evil person like Gavin Newsom fills the void, let me just tell you what's not going to happen. The unattenuated mechanisms that Newsom used to deploy will not be deployed by whoever comes into office because they have the threat of recall looming over them. That's a reality. So even if we got Bruce Jenner, or, Bruce Jenner would be too confused, Anyway, we'll just leave that alone. I mean, listen, if you're a 71-year-old man and you still don't know that you're a man and you're dressing like a woman and getting all kinds of things tucked and surgically removed and added, you probably are not going to have the kind of clarity you need to be the governor of the state of California. That's just the reality of it. And I won't vote for that confusion. But the point behind what I'm trying to say is no matter who it is, it's going to be a lot better because there will be a certain unspoken duress that's been created by the recall of the governor. And even though Arnold Schwarzenegger was a horrible governor and he was a big old lop, he didn't make any crazy political moves, or when I say political, radical moves that ignored the politics of the day because he knew that he was already in hot water and was subject to recall himself. So, I just think that it's no matter what, we've got to recall Newsom. I mean, that's a more important thing than whoever else we're going to vote for. Although I've heard some rumors of some people that are running that I think might end up becoming very, very good candidates. I don't know. Cox will be a good candidate. He's scared of his own shadow, and I don't think he even wants to run. I mean, he's running. Did you see his latest ad campaign? He's standing by a lion, I think he's kind of a rhino. I don't know. I could be wrong. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
I think you're probably right.
Yeah, so he's not going to win. But I don't know. I don't know what's happening there. I just know enough to know that we need to, no matter what, we need to recall Governor Newsom because he's demonically inspired. But anyway.
There you go. He's demonically inspired. Hey, I have to tell you this. Every day I get emails that include you, how much they love Tom and James. So this someone from Marietta, Georgia, emailed me, tells me, I want you to know how much I love you and James. And then on the front line on the left coast. So with that, I know James and I were just talking about the California politics for the last few minutes. Listen, we want to thank you for watching wherever you are in the world. Yeah. We got to cut the program short today. I'm really sorry about that. But next week, James is he's gonna change my mind. That's what he says. So I'm gonna throw another monkey wrench in there for James next week in the conversation where we're gonna go. And I'm not gonna tell him what it is until next week. But
bro, be careful. You know how monkey wrenches work, right?
How?
When you throw them, they bounce around and they end up in your own spokes.
It could.
Just know that, bro.
It could. We're going to find out. Because, hey.
Oh, I'm good at making that do that, bro.
I love testing the waters. I think this is what you're going to say.
I'm the best monkey for your monkey wrench.
I think it's what you're going to say. Wow, I think you might be right. That's what you're going to say next Friday. Hey, listen, don't forget, go to... hopeforourtimes.com for all of our videos and also for the events that we have. We have the Prophecy Conference coming up June 25 and 26, Huntington Beach, California. It is fantastic. As of Tuesday, we only had about 50 spaces left. I don't know what we have now or if we have any left, but hopeforourtimes.com and click on events. You can see the lineup there. James, you have closing thoughts?
Just that God is good. We're living in exciting times, and I'm beginning to see a rise in some cowardly pastors again. Sorry to bring that up. I don't want it to be such a negative thought, but what I would tell you is stand in boldness and don't let these people lie to you. We're living in the last days. Be bold, be brave, stand up for righteousness. Don't walk in fear. God is good. He's with us. We're living in the last days. Jesus can come back at any moment, and we need to live like it, right? We need to live like it.
Amen. Amen. By the way, this person from Marietta, Georgia, his email is fajita chef. So I'm thinking, good fajitas?
I hope so.
I bet great.
I bet really good.
Am I allowed to say that online?
Fajita chef?
Yeah.
You're not giving the whole address.
No. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm not giving the rest of it at all. So I don't know.
This show is declining very quickly. We're going down a slide into
I get canceled for
abyss
everything.
of Mexican food.
I love Mexican food, by the way.
So do I.
Okay. Hey, I'm sorry to hold you up so late today. I know you got a lot going on. Next Friday, we're going to talk. You're going to try to change my mind.
You know what I'm about to do?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't tell you what I'm about to do because then it would reveal the day that we're actually recording this, and I can't do that. You're not supposed to do that on a show like this.
Okay.
So I can't reveal what I'm about to do.
No. Okay. We're dropping right now.
Declining, bro.
Yeah. Okay,
I'm telling you.
Bye,
we're declining. I'm telling you.
Thanks
bye,
for
everybody.
joining
I love
us
you
today.
Hey, please, that's what I'm supposed to say. Please follow me on Instagram. That's right. Yeah, follow me on Instagram, James Cadiz, and subscribe to me on Facebook, Calvary Chapel Signal Hill, and follow me on Rumble, rumble.com/James Cadiz. And go to the Tom and James Show on Instagram, and then go to hopeforourtimes.com. That's a great website. And what else, Tom?
I don't know. You're tired. You got a busy day. You better go now. I'll let you go.
I'm actually finding delight in being stupid right now. It's kind of funny.
That's right. Okay. Good seeing you, James. Love you, bro.
Love you, bro. Keep fighting the good fight.
You too.